I never should have gotten up for a glass of water in the middle of the night. If I hadn't, I wouldn't have seen my husband Cameron tangled up with the new nanny, Stacy. In the chef's kitchen, Cameron pinned her against the counter, voice low and rough. What, the office wasn't enough? You had to chase me into my own house, hoping to seduce me? Stacy's cheeks flushed a coy pink. Isn't it more fun this way, Casey? She took a step back, but before she could finish, Cameron leaned in. He crushed his mouth over hers, fierce and ravenous. I froze, rooted to the spot. My head throbbed, a high-pitched buzzing filling my ears. I steadied myself fast, because Tiffany had woken up. She stood beside me, tiny fists rubbing her eyes as she stared at the two writhing silhouettes. "Mommy, what's Daddy doing?" she mumbled, voice syrupy with sleep. I swallowed the tempest inside me, knelt, and kissed her forehead. "Nothing, sweetheart. Daddy's just a dog that can't stop sniffing garbage. Tomorrow we'll go stay at Grandma's." The next morning I invented an excuse and fired Stacy over the phone. She sobbed as if her heart would break, pathetic, pitiable. "Miss Cross, what did I do wrong? Please, just tell me." She really could win an Oscar. I cut straight to the chase. "Care to explain what you and my husband were doing in the kitchen last night?" The moment she knew I'd seen, her tone flipped like a switch. "Mr. Brown and I are the real thing. You're a washed-up workaholic. How could you possibly understand what he needs?" So the girl wanted to move into the master bedroom. I hung up. 10 minutes later the phone rang again. Cameron's voice vibrated with barely leashed anger. "She's just a kid. Why take your frustration out on her? I have plenty of kids at Sterling Cross who greet me as President Cross, not break into my house to steal my man." Cameron's breathing turned shallow. He was furious now. "Spare me the sarcasm. I thought you had sense. Clearly I misjudged you." He slammed the call dead. I arched a brow, amused by how deep his new feelings ran. Cameron and I started as a merger of two empires, but we'd also grown up together, childhood friends turned bride and groom. After graduation our parents insisted on the license. By year 3 of marriage we had our precious Tiffany. I'd assumed life would glide forward on golden tracks, until marriage taught me otherwise. Back at Sterling Cross, my assistant Derek stepped into the office. He informed me Stacy was now working there as an assistant. Assistant, was Stacy even qualified? Cameron had met her at last year's alumni gala. Since then he'd haunted the campus, endowments, lectures, every event graced by Stacy's adoring gaze. The moment she graduated he offered her a cushy berth at his company. This week, bored or bolder, she'd turned up in my house as nanny. They certainly enjoyed creative role play. I told Derek to start drafting the divorce papers. His eyes widened. "President Cross, you're serious?" I lifted a brow and gave the first genuine smile of the day. "A man I've used belongs in an incinerator before he belongs to anyone else." Gossip travels at light speed. By afternoon the entire building knew the Ice Queen was filing for divorce. With President Cross's temper, no wonder Casey strayed. Any man would crack. "I saw Stacy over at Casey's office yesterday." "Admit it, she's hot." President Cross is flawless, just too intimidating. I ignored the noise and let Derek handle everything. That evening Cameron was stuffing clothes into a suitcase. "Business trip?" I asked, casual glance. He pretended not to hear. Only after zipping the bag did he look up. "Stacy was so upset she swallowed sleeping pills last night. If I hadn't found her. I'm staying with her for a couple of days." I couldn't help a short, cold laugh. He didn't bother replying, yanking the luggage toward the door. At the threshold he shot back, "Vivian, wipe that smirk off your face. You'll regret it. If you hadn't driven her to despair she wouldn't be sick. I'm going to her now, and it's all your fault." Later that night a mutual friend who managed Cameron's division sent me a photo. The shot, a table groaning with gourmet dishes. In the corner Cameron faced the camera, flashing a cheesy peace sign. The caption gushed, "Whether from north or south, he'll cook for me alone. Thank you, my Mr. Brown." Even I nearly wept at such epic romance. I forwarded the picture straight into the family WhatsApp thread. In-laws, parents, and every prestigious uncle and aunt who mattered. Replies pinged in seconds. "Cameron cooks now?" "Vivian, you hit the jackpot," crowed one uncle. My mother-in-law chimed, "My own son never made me a single dish, some other woman gets the treatment." I typed back, "Sweet as arsenic, you misunderstand. That's Cameron cooking for his little assistant, poor girl's ill, so he rushed over to nurse her." Then I shut the phone and waited for the fireworks. Past midnight, while I cradled a feverish Tiffany, the commotion downstairs jolted me awake. I hurried down. Stacy stood on the marble, shivering in nothing but a knit sundress. The moment she saw me, she shoved Cameron inside and burst into tears. "Miss Cross, I'm returning Mr. Brown to you. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have let him look after me. I'll vanish from your lives, I promise." She spun to leave, but Cameron caught her hand, fingers interlaced. "Stop the nonsense. I'm not going anywhere. You're still sick, who else will take care of you?" The following morning Tiffany was admitted to Riverdale. The racket those two had made the night before had woken her. By dawn she was running a temperature. I took emergency leave and stayed by her cot. Pale and smaller than ever, she studied my haggard face. "Mommy, did Daddy make you mad?" "Don't worry, I'm always on your side." I swallowed the ache in my throat and kissed her. When I stepped out to fetch water, I bumped into familiar faces. Stacy lay in a nearby bed, Cameron glued to her bedside, clutching her hand. "Stacy, you're too good, that's why you keep getting hurt. You shouldn't have brought me home last night, now you've caught a cold. But don't worry, I'll look after you." Stacy's eyes were red-rimmed, gazing at him with tender devotion. "Casey, I'm grateful for everything you've done for me. But you were never mine alone. Let's just call it quits." After the words, she pretended to be resolute, turning her head and stubbornly wiping away her tears. Cameron couldn't hold back any longer. He bent down and pulled her into his arms, kissing her forehead again and again while she sobbed as though her heart would break. A moment later Stacy seemed to remember something. "I want to resign. I can't stand the gossip anymore." Cameron ached for her. He cupped her face. "Don't talk nonsense. I'll divorce her and marry you. Anybody who dares whisper a word will be fired by noon." I couldn't stop myself from speaking up. What a performance, moved me almost to tears. Shock flickered across their faces just as two more people barged through the door, the in-laws I'd phoned minutes earlier. My mother-in-law's face was stone. She forced them apart and slapped Cameron hard. Both froze. "I can't police the world, but I can still discipline my son." "Is this how a decent man behaves, Cameron? Your daughter Tiffany is sick in the next room, and you're entangled with some woman. Do you even deserve to be called a father?" she snapped. My father-in-law stepped in, his expression graver than I'd ever seen. "Cameron, I had such high hopes for you. Seems I was blind. You've disappointed me beyond words." Stacy went sheet white, too terrified to speak, clutching Cameron's sleeve. I took my time, making my final entrance. "Taylor, if I were you, I'd take the money and run instead of fantasizing about the Mrs. Brown throne. You're young, you can start over anywhere. Vivian, I'm sick of your bullying, but as long as I'm here I won't let you keep hurting Stacy." With that he dragged Stacy past my in-laws' livid faces and strode out. My mother-in-law squeezed my hand, uneasy. "Vivian, don't worry, he's just bewitched. He'll come to his senses and apologize. I've fought tooth and nail to build what I have. I won't let Cameron and Stacy torch it." I shook my head calmly. "No need. I'll handle it myself." Cameron and Stacy vanished for 2 full days. During their absence my assistant Derek located the files. Stacy, born in a county seat south of here, parents alive, 1 younger brother. Since meeting Casey she's received roughly $1 million in gifts and an apartment titled in his name. Derek's face was cold with disgust. He's also taken her car shopping, 3 dealerships last week, so he's setting up his golden cage. I made a call, arranged a few things, then went home, only to find Cameron and Stacy waiting as though they owned the place. Stacy looked arrogant, nothing like the timid girl of days before. "Miss Cross, sorry to intrude." When I walked in Cameron stood. "Vivian, let's settle the divorce. These years with you have been suffocating, only Stacy understands me. Pack your things and move out. For 20-some years it's been you and my parents deciding my life. I'm exhausted. Vivian, I want a life of my own." Noble words for a thief. Before I could answer, my daughter came downstairs. She'd been improving but still looked frail. Seeing Cameron holding Stacy's hand, her tiny figure went rigid. "Daddy, don't you want me anymore? Are you leaving Mommy and me?" Cameron froze, but only for a second. He knelt and forced a smile. "Tiffany, I still love you. But Daddy and Mommy can't get along, so we have to live apart for a while." The words shattered her, she burst into wild sobs. My throat burned for her. I told Nanny to carry Tiffany back upstairs, then folded my arms at the lovebirds. Enough. You're blocking my view. I bought this house, Cameron, so if anyone leaves, it's you. And get your divorce papers ready, I intend to make this hurt. That night, after they left, I listed the house for sale, packed our bags, and took Tiffany to the Cross estate. I texted Derek, have the lawyers in my office tomorrow. Mom and Dad gaped at the mountain of luggage. What on earth? Cameron says he's found his soulmate. I'm granting his wish. I passed our sleeping, tear-stained daughter to Nanny. This is going to get ugly between the families, I warned. I'd rather you stay out of it so no one's uncomfortable. Let me handle it alone. They fell into a long silence. Mom's eyes reddened, she squeezed my hand. Whatever you do, we're behind you. Next morning in my office I was consulting counsel when Derek stepped in, expression odd. Ms. Cross, Stacy's here, and she's brought someone. The attorney excused himself. I told Derek to seat them in the executive lounge and clear the neighboring offices. The last thing I needed was another floor show. A minute later Stacy arrived, trailed by a younger woman I recognized from the file, her cousin, Jade, who also worked in the city. She dropped all pretense and used my name like a curse. Vivian, you can't win this. You think because you were born rich, run a listed company, and have a pretty face you can boss the world around? Maybe nobody told you, men don't want a domineering tigress. They want tenderness, obedience, the thrill of being needed, the ego trip of conquest. When her lecture dragged on I cut her off. Get to the point. I'm busy, I make $500,000 a day. Stacy's face twitched, Jade bristled. So what if you're loaded? Once my cousin becomes Mrs. Brown, the family money will pour her way. That reminder sent Stacy drifting back into daydreams of empire. She straightened imperviously. I know you and Cameron will divorce, and it'll cost skin. I'm here to warn you, keep your hands off his real estate trusts. Otherwise, I'll have Cameron fight you for full custody. Her expression twisted into a snarl. I know you must hate the idea of losing your daughter, right? So the real fear was missing out on Cameron's money. I couldn't help letting out a soft, mocking laugh. Sure enough, you do have a brain in there after all. At least you remember to obsess over the cash. There was still a smug little glint in her eyes. Only, are you positive you'll get what you're wishing for? I've been with Cameron plenty long, and I'm holding more than a few cards. I stared at the rigid set of her face. Also, does Cameron even know you came here today? Is he aware how hungrily you're eyeing his fortune? Stacy's expression flickered through half a dozen shades of fury, her glare looked ready to claw me to pieces. Jade, who'd been hovering at her side, instantly sprang forward, all loyal sword and shield. What are you so proud of, you old shrew? Even if we all tear the masks off, Cameron will take our side, no question. I swiveled toward Jade, studying that face, and finally placed her. I almost forgot about you. Her eyes went wary. What, the payoff Cameron gave you back then already spent? That why you're back for another round? What are you saying? Stacy went parchment white, swaying so hard she had to grip the table edge. I glanced between the two of them, adopting a look of sudden enlightenment. Could it be Jade never told her dear cousin about her own romps with Cameron? Jade, you were sneaking around with Cameron behind my back. Stacy's features twisted, not caring that I was watching. She lunged and fisted Jade's collar. By now Jade had nothing left to disguise. She peeled Stacy's hands away. Don't sound so high and mighty, you weren't exactly chatting about the weather with him. News flash, the woman sitting across from us is still his legal wife. Then she shot me a look. You've known all along, haven't you? Quite the Oscar-worthy performance. Family scandals are best kept private, it's hardly something to brag about. I smiled at her. Still, what a coincidence, both sisters falling for the very same man. Stacy was coming apart at the seams, head swiveling between me and Jade, unable to accept that years of scheming had just evaporated. Jade stayed cool, enjoying the biggest joke in the room. Don't stare at me like that. You could sink your claws into him, why can't I? Once the divorce is final, the money lands in our laps, both our laps. Her voice dripped temptation. Stacy wasn't buying. How dare you do this to me? She dove again, yanking Jade's hair. In a pleasant mood, I poured tea for the two of them. It was your idea, wasn't it, Jade, talking your cousin into coming here today to demand a slice of the assets? And using the baby as leverage, that has your fingerprints all over it. You do know me well. After their tug-of-war, both women looked disheveled. Remembering her agenda, Jade fought to steady Stacy. Stacy, don't lose sight of why we're here. If the bitch agrees, we can both serve Cameron going forward, no problem. But Stacy had flipped the switch. Mark loves me now. What gives you the right to elbow in? I folded my arms, enjoying the fireworks, and offered a helpful nudge. Jade, was the money Cameron slipped you after the miscarriage not enough, or has he recently rekindled things? The second the words left my mouth, horror flooded Stacy's face. I piled on a little more fuel. Congratulations are in order, I suppose, Jade. Quinn, you're pregnant again. You're, what, pregnant? Stacy was spiraling, circling Jade like a dervish, voice already cracking. Jade, what do you take yourself for, and what do you take me for? The two of you ganging up to con me, how entertaining. Jade acted as though she'd heard the joke of the century. Listen to you, acting all righteous, as if you didn't bust up someone else's marriage. Save the moral routine. I lifted my teacup for a sip. This show deserved a full house. Stacy, stripped of every shred of dignity, swung to slap Jade, but Jade caught her wrist midair. What, you still want to hit me? When Cameron walks in, do you honestly think he'll side with you or with the woman carrying his child? Better watch out, he might demand you pay back every cent. Mention of money cooled Stacy off fast. Sisters at each other's throats over a man, too good to keep to myself. I filmed them on my phone and fired the clip to Cameron and the family WhatsApp thread. Where Stacy panicked, Jade stayed unruffled. After all, she was harboring the Chen dynasty's heir. Round 2. Looking at the gentle swell of Jade's belly, I flashed back to delivering Tiffany, how I'd hemorrhaged and nearly died on the table. The doctors later told me I could never carry another child. Cameron had soothed me, saying one daughter was enough. I just hadn't read the look in my mother-in-law's eyes. Clearly, they'd always wanted a grandson. No, a compliant incubator, more like. I refused to believe the in-laws knew nothing of Jade's miscarriage and reboot routine these past years. I hadn't been the world's most devoted daughter-in-law, but I'd done my duty, only to be repaid like this? Once Jade delivered, they'd probably pressure me to rubber stamp the arrangement, and that, I would never allow. The door slammed open. Cameron strode in, face thunderous. Beside him stood Derek, looking sheepish. Jade scurried to Cameron's side, already playing lady of the manor. Stacy, eyes bloodshot, demanded through her tears. Mark, say it isn't true. Gone was Cameron's former tenderness, impatience lined every feature. I paid you plenty already. What more could you possibly want? The woman who'd been so sure she'd replace me wasn't about to surrender. She flung herself at them, clawing like a madwoman, until Cameron seized her wrist and flung her to the floor. Her scream of pain drew my notice. A thin trail of blood was spreading beneath her. Stacy miscarried. Word was it had been a well-formed male fetus. Her health had always been fragile. She'd never even realized she was pregnant. None of that mattered now. Cameron handed her a check and had someone escort her to the airport, reportedly watching until the plane lifted off. Jade, on the other hand, stayed, openly moving into the in-laws' estate. This needs a resolution, Cameron said. So here we were, Cameron's parents, my parents, Cameron, and me, all seated in my living room. My mother-in-law spoke first. Vivian, I'm appalled. I never imagined my son could behave this way. You've been so wronged. She grew emotional, dabbing at invisible tears. But after so many years together, you can't just throw it away. Even if not for yourselves, think of Tiffany. No matter how wrong that woman may be, she's already pregnant. It's too late for an abortion, don't you agree? At that, my mother couldn't stay seated. What do you mean too late? Adultery is adultery. If she doesn't terminate, where does that leave my daughter's dignity? Mother-in-law's face flushed with embarrassment. She jabbed Cameron with her elbow. Cameron had been pampered his entire life and had never apologized to anyone. Even now his neck was stiff, his expression wooden. The child stays. Name your price for everything else, he said. The in-laws sat silent. Clearly they agreed. My parents stared at the old family friends they thought they knew and felt nothing but strangers. They regretted their own poor judgment. My father spoke first. In that case, we divorce. Our daughter will never raise another woman's child, and we won't let some mistress march through our front door. The moment the word divorce left his lips, the in-laws' faces changed. Divorce is an ugly word, in-laws. We've been friends for decades, people will laugh. Besides, divorce won't hurt our Cameron, he's a man. But Vivian, at her age, dragging a child along? Her reputation will be ruined. Mother-in-law's eyes glinted with malice. I smiled and answered, reputation means nothing to me. My parents back me whatever I choose. I can spend the rest of my life with them if I have to. Tomorrow I'll bring my lawyer to discuss how the marital assets should be split. What's mine, I won't surrender a penny of it. Cameron finally sprang up, his face stone dark. Vivian, do you have to turn this into a circus? Absolutely, I said, lips curving as I studied the stranger in front of me. My money, handed to another woman? Over my dead body. Obviously, the negotiation collapsed. Cameron marched out with his parents in a fury. My father looked at me, worried. Vivian, what's the plan? Are we really taking this to court? I knew they were afraid for me, but what belonged to me had to come back. I've already consulted a lawyer, I said. I ticked the items off on my fingers. Over the years our two families only co-invested in two ventures, both times with my family putting up most of the capital and my people running the operation. Those two companies are coming back to me. Some of the land the Chens bought was financed with loans from us, everything's documented. That'll be easy. Cameron and I own 3 apartments, 2 cars, and several storefronts. In theory we'd split them 50-50, but he's the guilty party. I'm not feeling that generous. I met my parents' eyes, utterly serious. This is already me showing mercy. My father still looked uneasy. But will they let it go? The Chen Empire has been sliding downhill these past few years. I knew decades of friendship couldn't be tossed aside overnight, so I soothed them as best I could. I have to do this. Otherwise I fail Tiffany, and I fail the faith you've always had in me. Cameron and his parents had trampled my dignity, I could live with that. But they wanted to destabilize Tiffany's future and drag my parents into the sewer, unforgivable. These days I practically lived at the office, huddled with attorneys. The legal team was relentless, digging up proof of the Chen's loans from us, evidence of Cameron's affairs, and, bonus, 2 years of Sterling Cross tax evasion records. Cameron, what other surprises are you hiding? My assistant Derek raced around with me, locking every scrap of evidence in the office safe. Ms. Cross, hitting them this hard is going to bruise our own group as well, he said. Exhausted, I answered quietly, it has to be done. The next 6 months will just be rough. Derek nodded. Seeing how tired I was, he added, you've been burning the candle at both ends. Tiffany must miss you. Go home and rest, I'll handle the small stuff. I lifted my head. You care about me? The question flustered him. Not like that, just doing my job. Derek had joined Sterling Cross right after college, starting at the bottom. I'd promoted him to my assistant because he was sharp, and he'd never slipped, until now. The driver's downstairs, Ms. Cross. I've got a few loose ends, so I won't walk you down. In the back seat I rubbed my throbbing temples. I really did need rest. A vicious battle was coming. A week later, the trial date arrived. Several mediators had approached me. I'd sent them all away. I would never share another day's life with Cameron or his parents. Early that morning I strode into Sterling Cross. Derek had slicked his hair back and suited up like a groom. Ms. Cross, everything's ready. No rush. Today won't be simple. Ignoring his puzzled look, I crossed to the safe behind the bookshelf and keyed in the code. The lock clicked open. Inside, Cameron's smoking gun files had vanished, only blank paper remained. Exactly what I'd expected. Calmly I sat and studied Derek. What did Jade promise you to make you betray me? His face drained to chalk. Miss Cross, what are you talking about? He still tried to bluff. Derek, born 1985, River City, 2 younger brothers. After graduation you fought for a footing in A City, met Jade, also working there, and fell hard. But Jade's taste for luxury was bigger than your paycheck could cover, so she dumped you, right? Every word hit home. He hung his head, fists clenched, sweat beading, his neat hair now falling in oily strands. You're still in love with her, so when she asked for your help you caved. Since you know everything, do what you have to, he muttered. I gave him an easy smile. I fast-tracked you to assistant because you're smart, Derek. You understand what you need to do next, don't you? I turned my phone toward the slumped trader. On screen, security footage of him slipping into my office and cracking the safe. When the clip ended I snapped the phone shut and watched him sweat bullets. Release this and you're fired, blacklisted. Who'll hire you then? Jade? Cameron? He ground his teeth, wrestling with the choice. I pressed harder. Jade isn't the strategist, Cameron's pulling her strings. Tell me, what did he promise you? Morgan, he looked as if he'd stopped struggling. That day Jade found me. I was so happy, I thought she wanted us to get back together. But Cameron came too. Cameron said if I helped steal the evidence, you'd lose everything. Then he'd make me VP of Sterling Cross. A cold laugh escaped me. Cameron, you disgust me beyond words. You actually believed a man like him? Guess who sent me this footage? Derek couldn't take another second, eyes rimmed red, voice rough. I'm sorry, Ms. Cross. What should I do now? Someone as smart as him would never throw his life away for two cheaters. I have duplicate files at home. Take the stand, swear under oath that Jade and Cameron ordered you to do this. Afterward I'll put you on a plane out of the country. I leaned to his ear. Cameron, Jade, and their whole world, I want them erased. Fear flooded Derek's eyes, as if meeting me for the first time. Ms. Cross, do we really have to go this far? I smiled faintly, saying nothing while I watched him sink into thought. After a long while he lowered his head. I'll testify. The morning of the trial was chaos. The verdict ordered Sterling Cross to pay back the evaded taxes. Cameron was awarded some marital assets, yet against the company's bleeding books it was a drop in the bucket. Only after Derek took the stand and told everything did Richard and Eloise finally show their true faces. So this is you, Vivian. Had I known you were this vicious I'd never have let my son near you. All these years he's lived with a viper. Eloise jabbed a finger from the gallery, cursing at the top of her lungs. Useless woman who can't even give us a grandson. My son deigning to marry you was your blessing, and you dare do this? Your parents are just as deluded, thinking we ever gave a damn about them, Pa. The insults were so vile my parents' temples throbbed, but it was almost over. I signaled security to remove the in-laws. My own parents were escorted out earlier. When the gavel fell I went home. Tiffany, just awake, ran to me. Mommy, does this mean I don't have a daddy anymore? I kissed her forehead. Yes, sweetheart. But Mommy and Grandpa and Grandma will always be with you. Instead of sadness she beamed. Daddy was mean to you. I don't want to be with him. I have you, Grandpa and Grandma, that's enough. My heart flooded with joy. I hugged my entire world to my chest. To clear my head I started planning a trip abroad. Then my temp assistant delivered news. For no clear reason Jade had died in a car crash. By the time paramedics arrived she was gone. The doctors said the baby in her belly had been a girl. The Chin family never appeared, from first to last. A little sooner than I'd expected. What caught my attention, though, was the driver. It was Stacy, who should have been back in her hometown. I watched Derek packing boxes and arched a brow. You brought her back? He paused. Yes, Ms. Cross. You taught me, finish the job. On TV, the anchor announced that the hit-and-run driver, Stacy, had been arrested. I laughed out loud. The Chens had frantically wanted a grandson to inherit their fortune. In the end, no fortune, no grandson. I only know that in life you can't always choose victory, but retribution always shows up. Epilogue. The first time I saw Cameron I thought, I will have that man. But my girlfriends laughed, every one. They knew Cameron was already married to the owner of Cross Industries and had a daughter. The family looked blissful. I, Stacy, wouldn't accept failure. I had youth and beauty. Vivian was just an aging witch. Cameron visited our campus often, and bit by bit I created chances to run into him. Fortune favored me. Soon he was hooked. After graduation I ignored his protests and came to Sterling Cross. Luckily he still arranged everything for me. Day after day we moved through the office as a couple. The thrill went to my head. I wanted to scream to the world that I was Cameron's true love. Finally I decided to act. Disguised as nanny, I entered Vivian's house to size up the woman. Seeing her, jealousy swallowed me. Why was she so beautiful, so blessed? I would smash that picture to shards. Before long she caught Cameron and me in the chef's kitchen and fired me. I played the heartbroken girl, yet inside every nerve tingled with excitement. Since divorce is only a matter of time. Then every woman who envies the Chen name will envy me. I faked illness to force Cameron to rush over. I feigned surrender to lure Vivian into my trap. Everything was falling into place. Then cousin found me, odd, because we seldom spoke. She urged me to corner Vivian and threaten her with her daughter, squeezing out more money. I'll admit, I was tempted, yet scared. Cameron had forbidden me to approach Vivian, but cousin offered to come along, so I agreed. In Vivian's office she stood there arrogant as ever. I hated it. I sprang and railed at her. But how could she say that my cousin was also Cameron's lover? I couldn't believe it. My own cousin wanted my man. Cousin dropped the act, telling me to grab the cash first, then we could share him like sisters. That filth, paired with Vivian's half-smile, nearly drove me insane. I had become the biggest joke. Cameron arrived, but he shielded the cousin because she carried his child. Looking at his irritated face, I wanted to scream. All the love I'd treasured was my own delusion. He shipped me back to my hometown without a shred of sentiment, but I refused to give in. I hated them all. When news came that Cameron had lost the lawsuit, joy bubbled up inside me. He got what he deserved. And cousin needed an ending too. I returned to Riverdale. Seeing my heavily pregnant cousin walking alone, I knew the moment had come. As my car slammed into hers, I watched her writhe behind the windshield, and the taste of victory overflowed. At last it was finished. Neither Stacy nor cousin should have tangled with a man like Cameron, or we would have buried our lives for nothing. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, please like and share with friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping dramas. See you next time.